Imagine running a business where, 90% of your products just totally fail to hit their targets. But you are still considered wildly successful.
Right. Yeah. It's a crazy concept.
I mean, we are talking about an industry where you can miss the mark almost every single day, right up until one piece of work suddenly reaches 3 million people.
Which completely shatters that whole illusion of the effortless influencer. I mean, when you look at the raw data, it changes everything.
Exactly. You stop seeing someone just, posting videos from their phone, and you start seeing this complex corporate entity, one that has to navigate algorithmic risk and brand safety protocols.
Yeah, intense market forces that most people don't even realize are happening behind the scenes.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because our mission today is to pull back the curtain on the influencer economy. We are bypassing the shiny Instagram feeds and diving into a cold, hard, CEO-level influencer profile assessment from Right.S.
It's a fascinating document.
It really is. The subject is Svati Kakarla, a regional Telugu digital creator based in India. And this assessment, well, it's basically a masterclass in how reach, engagement, and personal brand identity actually dictate market value.
Yeah, we are analyzing this purely from the perspective of a brand's chief marketing officer. It forces us to look past all the vanity metrics and ask the really harsh questions.
Like, is this audience even real?
Exactly. Is this creator a safe investment?
Yeah.
And, how much is their influence actually worth in rupees and dollars?
Right. But before we go any further, there is a crucial disclaimer we need to make to you, the listener.
Yeah, very important.
The source material we are dissecting today heavily discusses this creator's explicit political affiliations, specifically her alignment with the TDP and NDA parties in India. So we need to be absolutely clear up front. In this deep dive, we are impartially reporting on this content strictly to explain its business impact. Neither of us is endorsing, rejecting, or, taking any sides regarding the political viewpoints contained in the original source material.
Right. We are treating her political stance purely as a market variable. Just like a CFO evaluating a company's risk profile, we're looking at how that political alignment alters her revenue potential.
How it fragments her buyer pool, basically.
Exactly. And how it dictates her overall market leverage.
So setting the politics aside for a moment, let's just start by looking at the raw data. I mean, how many people is this creator actually reaching? And more importantly, how do we know they are real? Because it is incredibly easy to buy an audience today.
Oh, it's so easy.
Yeah.
But the scale of her baseline audience here is substantial. The assessment places her on a personal Facebook profile with 488,000 followers.
Wow.
Yeah. In industry terms, that places her firmly in the macro influencer tier. But, the metric that really stands out to an analyst isn't the follower count.
What is it?
It's her following count. She only follows about 2,700 people back.
Wait, out of nearly 500,000, that gives her a follow-back ratio of roughly 0.5%.
Huh.
I mean, I get that it looks cleaner, but why is that specific fractional metric a make-or-break signal for an analyst evaluating her business?
Well, it all comes down to how social media algorithms penalize artificial growth. You see, a really pervasive tactic among amateur creators is the mutual follow scheme.
Oh, right, like sub-for-sub networks.
Exactly. Networks where thousands of users agree to follow each other just to inflate their numbers. The problem is, Meta's algorithm is specifically designed to detect this. If you have 500,000 followers, but you also follow 400,000 people, the algorithm recognizes that those followers aren't actually interested in your content.
Right. They're just fulfilling a transactional obligation.
Precisely.
Meaning they never actually watch or interact with the posts.
Yeah. And when Meta sees a massive audience completely ignoring the content, it assumes the content is low quality, so it just stops showing it to anyone. Her 0.5% follow-back ratio proves she hasn't fallen into that trap.
Ah, I see.
It signals to a brand that those 488,000 people opted in purely for her voice. It validates her authority as completely organic.
That shifts the perspective entirely. It's basically the difference between purchasing a billboard in an empty desert and owning a storefront on a really crowded street.
That's a great way to put it.
But, having the crowd is only half the equation. Because looking at the engagement quality in the source material, there's a fascinating discrepancy here. Her traditional feed posts, like the standard photo or text updates, they are practically invisible.
It's wild.
They're pulling in around 56 likes from an audience of nearly 500,000.
It is a massive drop-off. And it basically indicates that static feed content is essentially dead weight for her brand. The real engine of her business, the mechanism driving her actual market value, is her reels.
But even the reels are a wild ride, right? The source lists the specific performance metrics for her recent short-form videos, and it outlines this phenomenon they call the content lottery.
Yeah, the numbers paint a very stark picture of modern algorithmic reach. Her top 2 recent reels hit massive viral peaks. We are talking 3.4 million views on one and 2.2 million views on another.
Huge numbers.
But look at the immediate trajectory right after those peaks.
It crashes.
It completely plummets. From those multi-million view heights, her subsequent videos pulled 95,000 views, then 26,000, 20,000, trailing all the way down to 8,800 and even 4,100 views.
I was trying to map a mental model onto this, and the closest equivalent seems to be the blockbuster movie studio system.
Oh, how so?
Well, a major studio will bankroll 10 massive films, right? 8 of them might bomb at the box office or just barely cover their marketing budgets. But the remaining 2 become these billion-dollar global phenomena, and those 2 hits entirely subsidize the failures of the other 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a portfolio of calculated bets.
The analyst actually describes her engagement distribution as bipolar. She clearly possesses the capability to go viral. She understands the cultural triggers required to break out of her core audience and hit the broader algorithm.
Right.
But she lacks the systemic consistency to do it on demand.
But let me push back on the idea that this is necessarily a negative trait, because the assessment notes that if you exclude those 2 massive viral outliers, her average views hover around 25,000 per reel.
Mm-hmm.
On a baseline of 488,000 followers, that is an organic reach rate of about 5%. We hear constantly about how platforms choke organic reach to force creators to buy ads. So in that environment, isn't a guaranteed 5% organic baseline actually highly valuable for a regional creator?
The assessment absolutely validates your point. A 5% organic reach rate is robust, particularly for localized Telugu content. It isn't a failure at all, but it completely alters the fundamental product she is selling to an advertiser.
How so?
Well, a brand purchasing a sponsorship isn't buying a guaranteed 500,000 eyeballs. They are purchasing a baseline exposure of 25,000 views. And what they're really paying for is the lottery ticket attached to it.
The chance to go viral.
Right. The proven possibility that this specific video might be the very next one to hit 3 million.
So if she is pushing a solid 5% baseline with lottery ticket viral capability, who is actually on the receiving end of these videos? Because reaching millions of people is a great vanity metric, but for a business, an audience is made up of distinct demographics with specific purchasing power.
Her core demographic is highly targeted. She reaches a Telugu-speaking audience, heavily concentrated in the Indian states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, specifically the Hyderabad corridor.
Okay, so very regional.
Very. It also includes the NRI diaspora, non-resident Indians living abroad who still want that cultural connection to their home state. The age bracket is roughly 25 to 45 years old, politically aware, with a heavy female skew based on her profile aesthetics.
And the content mix serving that demographic is a very potent blend. She covers regional entertainment. I know the source highlights her commentary on a story regarding the actress Sukanya as an example of her film industry reach.
Right, yeah.
She produces lifestyle content, but she seamlessly weaves in highly charged sociocultural and political commentary.
And that political commentary is the defining pillar of her entire operation. I mean, it is not subtle.
Not at all. The source explicitly quotes her profile bio to illustrate this. It reads, quote, Jai Telugu Desam, Jai Chandrababu Garu, Jayaho Lokesh Anna. That is a loud, incredibly specific alignment with regional political leadership.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, this level of intense public political loyalty creates a severe fragmentation in her employability.
It has to.
In the digital economy, your personal brand identity dictates your buyer pool. The analyst actually categorizes her market viability into a green zone and a red zone.
Okay, so who is in the green zone? Who looks at that profile and sees an immediate, frictionless return on investment?
The green zone is populated by brands that need hyper-regional penetration and aren't burdened by national compliance protocols. So this includes regional OTT platforms.
Like streaming apps fighting for local watch time?
Exactly. It also includes regional FMCG brands. FMCG stands for fast-moving consumer goods. So we are talking about local daily use items, regional sari brands, local jewelry chains, packaged food companies.
Makes sense.
It also includes local real estate developers trying to reach that wealthy NRI diaspora, and of course, political campaigns.
Right, because she matches their target demographic flawlessly. If you are launching a localized streaming service in Hyderabad, her audience is exactly who you need to convert. But then there is the red zone, who is actively refusing to hire her, regardless of how many millions of views she gets.
The red zone is basically a complete blackout from the largest advertisers in the world. She is locked out of national FMCG brands. Companies like Hindustan Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Nestlé.
Wow, totally locked out.
Completely. She cannot be touched by national banking or insurance companies, and international corporate brands are entirely off the table.
But, let me challenge the logic behind that blackout. If I'm a massive pan-India brand, let's say a national housing finance company, and I am struggling to break out of the northern markets and penetrate the regional Andhra Pradesh market, wouldn't I actively want to tap into her audience? Her followers aren't just passively scrolling. They are deeply loyal, emotionally invested, highly mobilized. Isn't that emotional intensity the exact vehicle a brand wants to piggyback on to lower their customer acquisition costs?
It is a phenomenal question, and the analyst tackles that exact counter-argument. The assessment concedes that a very small handful of pan-India brands aggressively targeting regional growth, like an Aadhar Housing Finance, might calculate that the reward actually outweighs the risk.
They might endure the political association just for the conversion rate.
Exactly. But for the vast majority of global brands, it isn't even a human decision. It is an algorithmic blocker.
Wait, what do you mean by an algorithmic blocker?
Major corporations use automated brand safety software to manage their ad spends. These tools scrape the internet for political keywords, controversy flags, polarizing sentiment.
Oh, I see.
Her explicit bio and political commentary trigger those compliance filters instantly. A multinational bank simply cannot risk alienating 50% of the country just to win over a regional market. Corporate compliance requires strict neutrality, making your profile an automatic, non-negotiable rejection for heavily regulated sectors.
That restricted buyer pool has to radically alter how she monetizes. I mean, how do you even value a creator who is entirely locked out of the deepest corporate pockets in the advertising industry?
It compresses her commercial value significantly. Let me walk you through the actual market pricing framework the source provides for her specific deliverables.
Yeah, please break down the numbers for us. What is the going rate for this kind of influence?
For a standard branded reel, so a 30 to 60 second video, she commands between 25,000 and 60,000 rupees. Yep. A basic story or status mention drops to between 5,000 and 12,000 rupees. And if a regional brand wants to lock her in for a long-term ambassador deal, it runs about 80,000 to 2 lakhs per month.
That commercial compression is fascinating. Less competition from massive buyers means the local brands just don't have to bid as high.
Exactly.
But the source outlines an entirely different financial reality when she shifts from commercial products to political messaging, the election premium.
This is arguably the most critical financial mechanism in the entire document. Her commercial rates might be capped, but her political endorsement category commands a staggering 2 to 3 times premium.
That is massive.
Yeah. A single political campaign reel jumps to between 50,000 and 1.5 lakhs.
I really need to understand the mechanics behind that massive markup. Why would a political campaign gladly pay 1.5 lakhs for a single video when a jewelry brand only pays 50,000 for the exact same reach?
Because the political campaign is paying to bypass Meta's restriction.
Oh.
Social media platforms place heavy, restrictive compliance layers on targeted political advertising. They require verified IDs, extensive disclaimers, and they often throttle the reach of political ads just to avoid controversy.
Right.
But when a campaign pays an influencer to post a video organically to their feed, it circumvents the entire ad filter apparatus. The campaign isn't just buying views, they are renting the influencer's deeply established organic trust.
That's a huge loophole.
It is. During an election cycle, when urgency is at its absolute peak, that unfiltered access is incredibly scarce, driving the price up exponentially.
That is brilliant. It completely recontextualizes her whole business model. And the analyst runs the annual projections based on those two very different revenue streams. In a conservative, purely commercial year with standard regional deals, she projects out at roughly 4 to 6 lakhs. But in an optimistic year, factoring in high-volume deals and capitalizing on those premium-priced political campaigns during an election cycle, that projection balloons to 12 to 20 lakhs.
It is a massive variance dependent entirely on the political calendar.
I want you, the listener, to really think about how this mechanism applies to your own career or your own business or whatever industry you operate in. We are constantly conditioned to cast the widest net possible, to smooth off our edges so we appeal to everyone.
Yeah, play it safe.
Right. But sometimes niching down, even if it means actively alienating a massive segment of the mainstream market, actually allows you to charge a drastic premium to the specific subset of people who desperately need your exact, highly specialized leverage.
She has deliberately traded broad, safe commercial appeal for deep, highly lucrative regional leverage.
So, with an earning potential of up to 20 lakhs and the proven ability to hit 3 million views on a single video, why does the source hand her such a surprisingly modest final grade? I mean, she receives an overall employability score of just 6.5 out of 10.
Well, to understand the 6.5, you have to look at the specific dimensions the analyst graded her on. She excels in audience capture. She scores an 8 out of 10 on both reach scale and niche clarity.
Because we know exactly how many people are watching and exactly who they are.
Correct. But she severely underperforms on structural stability. She scores a 4 out of 10 on brand safety, which we've explored through that corporate compliance lens.
Right.
But crucially, she also scores a 4 out of 10 on platform diversification.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The concept of platform concentration risk. Her entire digital footprint, her entire 488,000 person audience is entirely dependent on a single personal Facebook profile.
It is a critical structural vulnerability. Facebook's organic reach for personal profiles has been systematically declining for years. Meta wants creators using professional pages where they can be pushed to pay for boosted reach.
Makes sense from their end.
Yeah. Currently, her Reels performance is her only vector for growth.
Yeah.
She has zero footprint on Instagram, zero presence on YouTube Shorts, and absolutely no backup community.
Think of it like running a highly profitable manufacturing factory, but there is only one road leading out of the facility, and Mark Zuckerberg owns the toll booth. You can optimize the factory all you want, you can produce millions of units, but if the landlord decides to close the road to prioritize a different kind of traffic, your entire revenue pipeline drops to zero overnight.
That is the exact threat the assessment flags. If Meta tweaks the algorithm tomorrow to heavily deprioritize short-form video on personal profiles, which, they frequently do to rebalance the news feed, her business model evaporates. Reach is ultimately meaningless if it's entirely subject to a single point of failure.
So if this CEO-level analyst were sitting across the boardroom table from her right now, what is the ultimate strategic recommendation? I mean, how does she fix a 6.5?
The single highest leverage recommendation in the document is immediate cross-platform expansion. She needs to aggressively port her content over to YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels.
Because her content lottery capability, her intrinsic understanding of how to make a video go viral isn't tethered to Facebook's code. It is tied to her actual performance.
Exactly. Viral psychology is platform agnostic. A compelling, culturally relevant video will perform just as well on YouTube's algorithm as it does on Meta's.
Right.
By distributing her content across multiple platforms, she actively neutralizes the threat of Zuckerberg's toll booth. Furthermore, the analyst notes that proving she can capture audiences on younger, more dynamic platforms like Instagram would effectively double her pricing power with regional brands within 12 months.
Wow, double.
Yeah, because it proves broader cultural relevance beyond just a static Facebook demographic.
It is basic risk management operating as a revenue multiplier.
It really is. Examining a creator through this lens completely takes the mystery out of the influencer phenomenon and replaces it with rigorous market analysis.
It changes the way you look at the internet entirely. Let's recap the journey we just took through this assessment. We started with a regional digital creator in Hyderabad. We explored how a macro influencer leverages a 488,000-strong Facebook audience, and how a bipolar engagement rate, where a 3 million view peak subsidizes a 4,000 view valley, still drives immense quantifiable business value.
And we dissected how a polarizing political identity acts as the ultimate double-edged sword in the attention economy.
Yeah.
It functions as a strict, non-negotiable deal breaker for national corporate compliance algorithms, while simultaneously acting as a massive cash multiplier for regional campaigns desperate to bypass traditional ad restrictions.
And the most vital takeaway from this entire deep dive is that in the modern digital landscape, scale is merely the entry fee. Pulling big numbers gets you in the door, but risk management is what dictates actual longevity.
Absolutely.
Whether that means navigating corporate brand safety protocols or ensuring you aren't held hostage by a single algorithm, mitigating risk is vastly more important than simply chasing the next viral hit.
Scale builds the business, but risk management ensures you get to keep it.
Which brings me to a final thought I want you, the listener, to mull over today. We spend so much of our time marveling at the sheer staggering numbers digital creators can generate. But as algorithms continuously evolve to prioritize platform profits, as massive apps face sudden legislative bans, and as the digital landscape fragments further, you have to ask yourself, is going viral actually a sustainable business model? Or is true, unshakable digital value ultimately about owning a community that will follow you no matter what app they happen to open on their phone?
That is the defining challenge for the next era of the digital economy.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden mechanics of influencer economics. Keep questioning the feeds you scroll through, stay curious, and remember that behind every seemingly effortless post, there is a heavily calculated business plan at work. Catch you next time.